Welcome to the second module. This is the sales training. We use the seven fundamentals for a sales presentation. This is coming from the Sales Superstar program. If you guys want to look it up online, we take these seven principles: body language, rapport, third party, gaining control, creating the need, building value, and assuming the sale. You will find these seven fundamentals as part of our script. Let's go over each fundamental real quick. Even though we're on the phones, people can still hear your body language, the way you're sitting. If you are, I'm pretty sure you guys are familiar with the old saying, smile and dial. I'm not the biggest fan, but what I'm trying to say is that whatever your body language is, it will be communicated through the phone. So take that into consideration, please. Now, rapport. Build rapport on common ground. Don't try to force it. And it is important for you to be successful on the phone, for you to be able to convert calls into opportunities and also opportunities into transfers. And those transfers will convert into appointments. That's what gets you extra money, but don't force it. Active listening and good communication skills will do the job. Rapport, use it when appropriate. Okay. Now, third-party references. Third-party references means when you use the name of a different company, maybe a government agency, or even a success story to build trust. Um, I'm pretty sure you've seen websites where if you go to the bottom of the website, it shows partners, it shows success stories, even testimonials are third-party references. So whatever you can use to build trust, that's a third-party reference. Now, gaining control. On the phone, how do we gain control over the conversation? That's by asking questions. Okay, that's why our framework is question-based. Instead of saying a statement, try to say the exact same thing, but by asking a question. For example, if a homeowner is telling you, is this a sales call? Reply with something like, why? Do you receive a lot of calls from people trying to sell you something over the phone? Whatever the person says, you're one step ahead. This is not a sales call. We're just trying to make sure this program makes sense for you. We are not looking for a yes or no over the phone. If you're a good fit for the program, if this makes sense for you, we can schedule a better time to go over the details. Okay? Be quick on your fit. Now, creating the need. If there's no need, there's no sell. So that's why we first talk about the high electricity bills. Why? Because it is not pleasant to pay three, four, $500 on electricity when these rate hikes are making it even more expensive. So people, yes, they are worried about their current amount for electricity, but they're even more concerned about how it's going to look like next year or the year after. That's why we remind them about their bills. That's how we create the need. And right after we create the need, we offer the solution, which is our value proposition. That's why building value, it's important during the sales process because that's the solution to the problem. And of course, assuming the sale, that's key. For your specific role, assuming the transfer, it is vital. You guys don't ask for permission to transfer the call. If you give homeowners the option to opt out, they will always opt out. If you ask something like, Is it okay if I transfer you over? Can I transfer you over with my specialist? Would it be okay if don't do that? Because you're not going to be able to transfer calls. You have to assume they want to be transferred. You bring the specialist on the phone and you do a proper handoff. We will show you how to do the handoff, but just take into consideration that you have to assume they want to be transferred. A big part of the sales process on the phones has to do with your tonality. So please take notes. You have to be a powerful communicator. That's the combination of your voice, the mindset, and the message. You need those three elements to be a powerful communicator. Now, talking about tonality, it's not what you're saying or it's not the questions you're asking, it's how you're asking them. Also, when you don't have flexibility over your pitch, you may be failing to communicate the message. Tonality of what you say carries almost more weight than the actual words. And of course, when you work with your voice, it really affects how people respond to you. And your tone is how the prospect interprets the intention behind every question you ask. Why do you ask that in the first place? I'm going to play a video that explains how to manage your voice. When it comes to your voice, there are intensity, quality, rate, inflection, frequency. Now, how do you make good use of these elements so that you can take advantage of using these voice elements? Please pay attention to the video, take notes, because this is going to be very relevant on the phones.
If we think about marketing and branding for a moment, when things go into a logo or a brand, we talk about fonts and colors and images that are designed to evoke a certain emotion from a target audience. And if we don't hit that target, then we go back to the marketing drawing board, we recreate that, and it's the interaction of those elements of color and logo that ultimately go into that emotional response. We take that and we'll parallel that to personal branding. And your voice is the most important element of your personal brand. It is how people perceive you. And personal brand is that thing that people say about you right when you leave the room. So what are those elements that go into voice brand? As a voice pathologist for the last 20 years, my job has been to look at what elements go into the most elite voices, what gets them hired in the professional arena, and how do we maximize those elements? It goes far beyond the words we say. Right? So there's that old adage, it's not just what you say, but how you say it. And there's lots of coaches that talk about intonation and things like that. But the reality is it's the combination of certain elements that go into creating your voice brand. So let's take a look at these 5 elements. The first thing is intensity of voice. Intensity is something that we can measure. We measure intensity in decibels. Our perceptual correlate of intensity is loudness. And our biases, our cultural biases, our personal biases, our aesthetic biases of loudness influence our perception. My 13-year-old's perception of loudness is much different than my threshold of loudness. But intensity is something that's measurable. We know that there's a comfort level for intensity. If I take a simple sentence, I need you to get this done today, and the only element that I change is intensity. I need you to get this done today. All of a sudden, you all take a little step back because I'm all of a sudden perceived as being aggressive, assertive, or potentially, if I was at a sporting event, enthusiastic. If we take that same sentence and all I do is change intensity, I need you to get this done today. I'm potentially being perceived as shy or uncertain of what I'm talking about. So intensity as an element alone contributes to this overall idea of vocal brand. The second element that goes into voice brand is inflection or intonation. In music, we very rarely hear a piece that is on one note all the way through from the beginning or the end. That'd be pretty boring, right? So the intonational patterns of speech are what make it interesting. In the two extremes, we have a highly sing-songy rate where it sounds like you're talking to a 2-year-old all the time, and you're perceived as being unintelligent in what you're saying. Or we have the complete opposite, where someone totally doesn't change their tempo or their inflection at all. I need you to get this done today. They're bored, they're uninterested in what they're saying, and they're not connected to it. In today's culture, one sound of inflection that tends to be really pervasive in everything that we hear is this idea of uptalking. Everything ends with a question. There's never a statement. And what we know is that it is actually preventing people from getting jobs because they're completely unsure of themselves. The third element that goes into your brand is rate. That is how fast or how slow you talk. The average rate of our favorite TED Talkers is somewhere between 162 to 175 words per minute. I hope I fall within that range. I haven't actually measured my rate of speech, and I'm pretty sure it's sped up today, standing in front of you all right now. But average rate of speech is important. And oftentimes we'll hear people say, slow down your rate. Slowing down your rate alone is not going to change the overall vocal brand. Again, it's the interaction of the components that are going to change your voice brand. So if we have a super fast talker, I need you to get this done today. All of a sudden, you feel super rushed. You're slightly agitated in what they're having to say, right? Similarly, if we slow down that rate of speech, I need you to get this done today. I'm perceived as condescending because I'm talking down to you because I'm talking so slowly. Just like in music, it's the give and take of the pace of what we do that makes it interesting. So if we take that sentence, I need you to get this done today, and within that sentence, we change up the rate or the tempo. I need you to get this done today. That makes it much more interesting for our listeners, right? The fourth element is frequency. Frequency is measured in hertz. And we know that there are normative data for men, women, and children here in the United States and abroad of what the average fundamental frequency should be for us to like their voice. If the pitch of your voice is too high, I need you to get this done today. Generally, for females, high-pitched voices are perceived as being young, albeit slightly less intelligent. If we drop the pitch of the voice, I need you to get this done today. In women, that is perceived as authoritative sometimes. If we also increase intensity with it, I need you to get this done today, we've already all of a sudden crossed that line into being aggressive. Interestingly, the average frequency of women's voices dropped after 1960. Because in the era of women's lib, when we had to come sit at the table with our male counterparts, we needed to compete vocally. So the average fundamental frequency dropped in this country after 1960. Because we know that men with lower voices make more money, father more children, and hold positions of higher leadership. And that's not just true in the human species, it's true in the animal species as well, with the exception of making more money, because I'm not sure that the animals make more money. But the males of the group with the lower voices are the leaders of the pack, and they mate more frequently, which inherently results in more children. So frequency becomes important. The fifth parameter that is interesting in our voice brand is quality. And quality can range from clarity of voice to hoarseness of voice, or a rough, raspy voice. In my elite vocal performers, uniqueness gets hired. It is not always a perfect voice, but it's an interesting voice. And sometimes that means that voice might be slightly hoarse. One of the pervasive elements of quality today is this idea of glottal fry, which is what you heard me come out doing. I need you to get this done today. We hear this all the time, especially in our upper middle class white women. It is pervasive and actually part of a social culture phenomenon that we see, thanks to some of the Kardashians. But that glottal fry is super pervasive, and what we know is happening is we now have the technology called voice biometrics, where when you call into an HR firm for a job and I say, "Hi, my name is Wendy," they run my voice through an algorithm, and they determine that features of my voice are not pleasing, and I don't even get an interview. So those 5 elements are ultimately what constitute your voice brand. So we'll take our sentence. I need you to get this done today. In a sexy voice, in light of the fact that it's Valentine's week, for females, intensity we need to drop to be perceived as sexy. Inflection, highly inflected. The rate is slowed way down. The frequency of my voice will drop, and the quality adds breathiness. I need you to get this done today. Good, you all perceive that as some version of sexy.
Now, as you can see, there is a lot more to our voice than what we thought. So the main reason why I like showing you this video is because it is difficult to take ownership of or to control something that you're unaware of. Now, at least you guys know that these elements are part of our voice brand, and all of you should be able to manage these elements of your voice to be successful on the phones. Remember, when you're doing cold calling, being cool, calm, and collective is key. When you're overcoming objections, there's no need to raise the tone of your voice. You have to remain calm. Now, there are 5 tones you have to master if you want to be a 1% top salesman. I'm going to show you a powerful video from Jeremy Miner, and he talks about these 5 different tones. Please pay attention.
There's 5 tones you have to master. There's a lot of tones, but there's 5 tones you got to master. You want to be like a top 1% salesperson. You got to master a curious tone. That's more in like your connection phase, and when you're trying to find out their situation, like you're curious, like, oh, walk me through. What do you guys do to generate new leads and clients? Like if you're selling lead services or whatever, right? You got to master the confused tone. Oh, hold on, you're stressed? Confused tone, right? You got to have the challenging tone. That's more consequence. Like, what if you don't do anything about this and you're never able to scale the business? Then I want to have a concerned tone that shows empathy, right? What's really holding you back from moving forward? And then I have the playful tone. Well, I guess, or let's say they show up to the call a little bit late. Oh, I'm so sorry about it. Well, I guess I can forgive you this time. What are we going to do with you?
Yeah.
Instantly your status goes up.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Those are the 5 tones you got to master.
Okay.
You master those 5 tones, you're going to sell 3 times more than what you are now.
Prospect says early in the conversation,
"Hey, I don't see what your product or service could actually do for me."
how do you respond to that? Today I'm going to give you a disarming question that you can use to get the prospect to lower their guard.
"Hey, I don't see what your product or service could actually do for me."
So you simply say, now pay attention to my tone. Well, you might be right. I mean, maybe we can't do anything. In fact, we might not even be able to help you at all. I'd have to understand more about what you guys are doing with XYZ and the results you're getting from that compared to maybe where you're wanting to be, just to see if we can do something for you. For example, who do you use now for your, and I'm right into my first situation question. Now, notice my tone, calm, collective, relaxed. Next time do that, notice how they let their guard down. Why is your tone even important? Well, here's why. Your tone is how your prospect interprets the meaning or the intention behind everything you are asking them. So if your tone is off and it sounds like a way excited, enthusiastic tone, those questions cause them to feel like you're asking them the question to manipulate them into buying from you. But if I use more of a concerned tone, a tone that shows more empathy with certain questions, the prospect feels I'm concerned that if they don't do anything, nothing will change for them.
As you all can see, tonality is key. I will say it's probably even more important than the actual message. If you sound flat, if you don't have the proper intonation, inflection, articulation, if your cadence is off, you're not going to get far in these phone calls. So please make sure your tonality sounds natural. You have to sound like you're having a casual conversation. Usually, if you have experience on the phones with customer service or tech support, you are required to be professional. You have to sound super polite. You have to sound very friendly. And sometimes even in sales, especially when you get inbound calls. But remember, this is outbound dialing. So if you sound like a salesperson, you will get your knees chopped off. If you sound like a telemarketer, same thing. If you sound customer service like, exact same thing. If you sound very professional, if you sound super friendly over the phones, people will hang up on you. Our best recommendation is sound natural. Sound like you're having a casual conversation with anybody that you know. Talk to homeowners on the phones like you talk to your friends, like you talk to your family. That's how you need to approach these conversations. I would like to show you this super short video from a movie. The movie is called Sorry to Bother. It talks about the call center industry, but this 1 minute has a powerful message if you're doing cold calling overseas. So please pay attention.
Hey, young blood, let me give you a tip. Use your white voice.
Man, I ain't got no white voice.
Oh, come on, you know what I mean. You have a white voice in there, you can use it. It's like when you pulled over by the police.
Oh, no, I just use my regular voice when that happens. I just say, back the fuck up off the car and don't nobody get
All
hurt.
right, man, I'm just trying to give you some game. You want to make some money here? Then read the script with a white voice.
People say I talk with a white voice anyway, so why ain't it helping me out?
Well, you don't talk white enough. I'm not talking about Will Smith's wife. I'm talking about the real deal. Like this young blood.
Hey, Mr. Kramer. This is Langston from Regal View. I didn't catch you at the wrong time, did I?
So, guys, girls, please try to use your inner white voice for these phone calls. Mindset is key. If you don't have the mindset, maybe this job is not for you. Why? Because you have to be okay taking rejection. Maybe it takes 10, 15, 20 calls for you to find that one opportunity. And based on our metrics, it takes 4 to 5 transfers for you to produce one appointment. So indeed, this is a numbers game, but at the same time, it's a skills game. I will personally take anytime discipline over talent. Talent is great, but discipline will take you further. And if you have both, it's game over. So this is our sales training specific for cold calling. I hope you find it useful, and if you do, please share. Thank you for your time and attention.